Now we're going to do a roundup of all the rules that we have learned together for the grammar section of the ACT. You will need to go over these just like you would study for a test. So I'm going to set this up kind of like a test, and I'm going to give you the question, and then you need to put it on pause and see if you can remember the answer. And if you don't, then you need to write it out after I give you the answer and then really try to go over it a couple times. I've always found that writing things down really helps you learn them. So I had a teacher that once said, first the head, then the lead. But I believe that the lead really gets you through. So make sure you write things down a lot. After you feel like you know these rules, then you can print out the practice test that we've provided you, print the pages out that we told you, go one section at a time, time yourself 9 minutes, check your answers, and then at the end of our lessons, I'm going to go over those in an audio tape so you can listen to me actually go over the entire grammar test, actually the entire test. There's also going to be an extra credit section where we go over a few more rules that you might want to learn. There's one big rule that takes, these questions are called sequencing questions, and they take a long time. They ask you where to put something. And if you have time and have mastered these, you may want to go over that in the extra credit section. If not, please guess on those. When they ask you where to put them, that will take you too much time. You should definitely guess and then move on. All right, grammar test review. The big picture questions. Number 1, here's your question. When I get a question that gives me a writer's goal or goals, what can I do to get the right answer? Pause. I circle the writer's goal. To summarize something, to show confidence. Whatever they tell me to do, I do. That's how I choose my answer, only by what they told me to do. Big picture question number 2. What if they asked me to delete a portion of a sentence or a whole sentence, and whether I should do it or not? Pause me. Okay, hopefully you remembered. You put brackets around that portion in the text. You read the sentence with it and without it. If it's necessary for the story, then we keep it in. If it changes the meaning of the story, then I have to say, yeah, it changes the meaning. I have to keep it. Big picture question number 3. Does the ACT like relevant specific details? And if so, what does that mean? Pause me a minute. Yes. That means they like specific examples to illustrate what they are talking about. Remember the belly shirts and flip-flops? As long as it doesn't go off the subject, they want it. Okay? And then one more. What do I do if the big picture question deals with the main idea of the story? Put me on pause. I recheck the title of the story because the right answer will make a lot of sense with the title. Remember, that's the scope. That's how much of the story they covered. All right, great job, you guys. Those 4 big picture question rules will cover a lot of answers. Now we're going to review the simple grammar rules. When you're ready, begin. Number 1, if one of the answer choices says delete or omit, what do? Put me on pause. I check that answer choice first, and if the sentence makes sense without the word, it's out of there. It usually is the correct answer. Number 2, does the ACT mind repetition and redundancy? Put me on pause. You have to know this one. They hate it. They hate it when a sentence repeats something, so avoid repetition. Number 3, what if the ACT repeats the same word 4 times? Yet 3 of the 4 times the answer adds words to the one main repeated word. Put me on pause. I know you got this one. The answer will be the single word without adding anything extra to make it more complicated. See, you guys are like grammar wizards now. All right. Number 4, what is the deal with subjects and verbs? What 2 tricks do they pull with subjects and verbs? Put me on pause. All right, every sentence must have a subject and a verb. They have to go together. The first trick they do, the true subject and the verb are far apart in the sentence. The second trick, they give me a subject that seems plural, but it's actually singular. Okay, number 5. What do I do when I see a pronoun? Put me on pause. All right, remember those little professional nouns? You track down the noun. The pronoun has to be the right one, it has to be clear, and it has to be necessary. If I see it, I should make sure and check if it should be they. If I see a they, I need to double check and see if it should be an it. This 6th rule that you have to remember, what is the difference between it apostrophe s and its no apostrophe? All right, think about it. It apostrophe s means it is, its means something belongs to it. Is its apostrophe a word? No. All right. How do I figure out tense? How do I know whether to use present tense, past tense, or whatever? Pause and think. I do whatever they started. Whatever they start in the sentence or the paragraph, I copy it and keep it consistent. Number 8. What does plural first then possessive mean? Well, owners can be people or things. How many things they own does not make a difference. And when I'm figuring out how to write it, I first figure out if the owner is singular or plural. Then I add possession with an apostrophe. Number 9, what is a transition word? And how do I know which one is right? Put me on pause. A transition word connects things. It's very important and it has meanings. Some show that the sentence keeps going one way, like therefore, for instance, thus, and others show that the meaning is changing, like however or nevertheless. Is there ever a trick to knowing which one is right? Pause a minute. Yes, sometimes 3 go one way and 1 goes the other, so I know the one that goes the other way is the correct one. Number 10, what is the double comma or double dash rule? Put me on pause. When there are 2 commas or 2 dashes surrounding a statement in a sentence, then I must check what goes within them to see if it can be taken out, if it's important but not vital. If you can take it out, it's just descriptive, it doesn't affect the main idea, then I know that those 2 commas or those 2 dashes are correct. That's when we use 2 dashes or 2 commas. Number 11, the Nike rule. When do I use an ly? Put it on pause. The Nike rule is when you're talking about how you do something, like just do it. So it looks a little like the swoosh when you're about to write an ly, and that's how I remember when you need an ly, like doing something quickly or nicely or carefully. Okay, commas. How do I know when to use them? Put me on pause. They do show that you need to take a breath and pause, but when in doubt, leave them out. Number 13, what is a colon? What is the colon rule? Okay, remember, the colon looks like 2 dots. You must have a full sentence before a colon. Number 14, what do I do when they ask me a common phrase? Similar to, I am preparing blank a test. Put me on pause. Pretend like you're saying it in a sentence and trust your ear. I am preparing for the ACT test. And number 15, what is the 2 full sentence rule? Put me on pause. When you're looking at a super long sentence that has 2 parts, I have to check each part to see if it is a full independent sentence. If it is, that means it's got a subject and a verb and it doesn't leave anyone on a cliff. Then I have 3 options to join them. A semicolon, which is the dot with a comma underneath, a period, or a comma plus a conjunction. And the most common conjunctions are and, but, or because. Okay, you got it. Put it on pause, review, see if you can answer them without listening to me. Do your practice test. Tune in to hear why you missed what you missed. And good luck. You're just going to do great.